10 incredible facts about ancient Greece.
You may not know hello, and welcome to our journey into the hidden corners of the ancient world.
When you think of ancient Greece, you probably picture philosophers debating under marble columns, Olympians racing in stadiums, or mighty warriors in bronze armor. But behind the familiar stories lies a treasure trove of surprising, even mind-boggling facts that you might never have heard about. Today, we'll explore 10 incredible facts about ancient Greece that reveal just how advanced, inventive, and sometimes downright strange this civilization could be. From early computers to robotic inventions and unexpected social practices, these stories will give you a fresh perspective on a culture that shaped the world. So sit back, open your mind, and get ready to discover ancient Greece like you've never seen it before. Fact number 1. The ancient Greeks built the world's first analog computer, the Antikythera mechanism. Let's begin with a discovery that rewrote the history of technology itself.
In the year 1900, sponge divers searching the seabed near the small Greek island of Antikythera stumbled onto something they never expected.
Among the broken statues and amphorae in a Roman-era shipwreck lay a corroded, lumpy hunk of bronze and wood.
For decades, it seemed like little more than an unrecognizable mass of fragments. But when researchers began studying it more closely, X-raying it, CT scanning it, and digitally reconstructing its components, they realized they were holding the remains of an ancient machine so sophisticated that it stunned the modern world. It became known as the Antikythera mechanism, and it is often called the world's first analog computer, built around 150 to 100 BCE. This device was no mere toy or curiosity. It contained over 30 intricate bronze gears, precision engineered and fitted together in a casing about the size of a shoebox. By turning a hand crank, the user could set the gears in motion.
The mechanism would then calculate and display the positions of the sun, the moon, the phases of the moon, and perhaps even the positions of Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, the 5 planets.
The front face showed a dial divided into the 365-day Egyptian calendar, overlaid with the Greek zodiac.
2 pointers revolved to display the sun and moon's positions on any given date. One of the most extraordinary features was a small pin and slot mechanism that accounted for the moon's uneven speed across the sky, an astonishing demonstration of applied astronomical knowledge.
On the back, spiral dials tracked the Metonic cycle, a 19-year period that synchronized lunar months with solar years, and the Saros cycle, an 18-year cycle that predicted eclipses. There were even inscriptions explaining how to use the device and when to observe particular celestial events. How advanced was this machine? To give you an idea, nothing remotely as complex is known from the ancient world. Its level of mechanical engineering wouldn't reappear until the development of astronomical clocks in medieval Europe more than 1,000 years later. So who built it? Historians still debate this question. Some scholars believe the device was created in Rhodes, where the astronomer Hipparchus was active and man famous for his star catalogue and for developing the idea of epicycles.
Others think it could be linked to Archimedes' tradition in Syracuse.
But whoever the maker was, their knowledge of gears, ratios, and celestial mechanics was far ahead of their time. The Antikythera mechanism also raises tantalizing questions. If such technology existed in the 1st century BC, what else might have been lost when the Library of Alexandria burned or when Rome's empire fragmented? Even in its corroded state, this device forces us to reconsider our assumptions about the ancients. The Greeks were not only philosophers and poets, but also brilliant engineers capable of creating machines that harness the cosmos itself.
Fact number 2. The Spartans used iron bars as money, rejecting gold and silver. When you think of Sparta, you probably imagine fierce warriors training from childhood, living with discipline and self-sacrifice. But one of the lesser-known aspects of Spartan life was how they deliberately rejected wealth in the form everyone else used it. According to tradition, their lawgiver Lycurgus banned the use of gold and silver currency. Instead, he introduced an almost absurdly impractical form of money, iron spits, sometimes called obols or pelenas. These iron rods were intentionally cumbersome.
Imagine trying to carry a week's salary in a bundle of iron bars so heavy it required a mule to transport.
The idea was clear: Spartans would have no incentive to hoard wealth or fall into the trap of luxury.
If stealing your neighbor's fortune meant hauling half a ton of iron out of their house, theft suddenly didn't seem worth the trouble. This system did more than discourage crime. It was also a powerful social statement.
Spartans viewed wealth as corrupting. They believed that the constant pursuit of riches weakened a citizen's commitment to the state and the collective good.
If you couldn't conveniently amass treasure, you were more likely to stay focused on your duty as a warrior. Of course, this didn't mean Spartans had no contact with silver or gold.
They sometimes accepted foreign coinage for diplomatic or military purposes, but within their own society, wealth had little visible impact. All male citizens ate together in communal mess halls called syssitia, where everyone contributed the same basic food.
Even the richest Spartan had to dine on the famous black broth, a mixture of pork, blood, and vinegar that horrified other Greeks.
The iron currency was a key part of Spartan identity, plain, austere, and proudly indifferent to the glittering decadence of places like Athens or Corinth. Fact number 3. Ancient Greeks practiced voting by ostracine democracy in ancient Athens was groundbreaking, but it wasn't without its own strange tools of political control.
One of the most fascinating was ostracism, a process by which citizens could vote to exile someone from the city for a decade.
Here's how it worked.
Once a year, Athenians would gather in the Agora, the city's main square. If the assembly voted that an ostracism should be held, citizens would scratch the name of the person they wanted to exile onto a broken piece of pottery called an ostracon.
After collecting thousands of these shards, officials counted them. If any individual received at least 6,000 votes, they had to leave Athens within 10 days. The exile lasted for 10 years.
Afterward, the person could return with full rights, and no shame attached. Ostracism was not a criminal conviction, just a preventative measure. The purpose was simple: to protect the democracy from anyone growing too powerful or popular, any potential tyrant.
But in practice, ostracism could also be a tool of rivalry. Political enemies might campaign quietly to have each other expelled.
One of the most famous examples involved Themistocles, the naval commander who had led Athens to victory against the Persians.
Despite his heroism, his growing influence alarmed others.
In 471 BCE, he was ostracized, forced to leave the city he'd saved.
Another prominent statesman, Aristides the Just, was likewise exiled, allegedly because Athenians grew tired of hearing how virtuous he was.
Ironically, ostracism sometimes backfired.
After ostracizing key leaders, Athens occasionally found itself unprepared for external threats or internal turmoil.
Over time, the practice faded and eventually disappeared. Still, the idea remains one of the most unusual features of ancient democracy, a system that empowered citizens to remove a political figure, not by assassination or conspiracy, but by a vote scratched into humble pottery.
Fact number 4. Greek doctors performed brain surgery.
Trepanation. It's easy to imagine ancient medicine as little more than superstition, herbs, charms, and incantations. But the Greeks practiced medical techniques that were surprisingly advanced, including trepanation, or drilling into the skull. Trepanation is one of the oldest surgical procedures in human history.
In Greece, physicians like Hippocrates described it in detail.
His treatises explain when trepanation might be necessary, most often for head injuries from war or accidents. The operation involved scraping or cutting a circular opening in the skull. The purpose was to relieve pressure from a fractured bone, pressing on the brain, to drain blood or pus, or to allow swelling to subside.
Special instruments, including a tool called the trepan, were designed to remove bone carefully without harming the brain tissue below.
While the idea of drilling into someone's head sounds horrifying, archaeological evidence shows many patients survived.
Healed edges around trepanation holes proved that ancient surgeons knew how to control bleeding and prevent infection. No small feat in an era without antibiotics.
Greek medicine blended observation, empirical study, and philosophical ideas about balance within the body.
Hippocrates' approach was revolutionary. He rejected supernatural explanations for disease, insisting that illness arose from natural causes. His school's emphasis on careful diagnosis and prognosis laid the foundation for scientific medicine.
Trepanation in Greece demonstrates that their physicians were more than theorists. They were hands-on practitioners willing to take bold steps to save lives.